Before I can put the bonnet spring back on, I'm just going to sand this hinge down to bare metal, re-prime it and respray it. I'm hoping to just be able to sand off the old paint and rust on the bonnet spring, but that rust is in the coils there and I can't get in there, so I think this is going to have to go in a rust bath to get rid of that rust. These are the nuts and bolts for that bonnet hinge. Now you could just go out and buy new ones, but we're just going to use our finger file or power file to get all the rust off, and then paint the outside and make sure that you don't rust in the future. Set up a little rust bath for this spring. Just got 19 glasses of hot water, 19 of these small glasses, and 1 small glass of the Hamber built Deox C crystals. What we use for derusting Hamber built Deox C. It used to come in bags like that. They've changed the packaging. It now comes in these containers. This is actually the same white powder there, and that's built Hamber Deox C. Just leave that in there overnight. This is the bolt from the hood spring mechanism. It's been sitting in a rust bath overnight just to get rid of the deeply ingrained rust there in those pits there. So we're just now going to spray the top of this bolt to protect it in future, and then we'll lubricate the bottom half with oil, stop it rusting. Just giving that bolt a quick blast with the MRO chrome galvanizing coating, and that'll protect it. And also if the bolt gets scratched, it's a kind of self-healing coating that it will etch itself back to close that scratch. So we'll just let that dry for a day and then put the whole thing back together. This is the foam or plastic cover that goes over that section of the bulkhead, and it's all dirty, covered with glue, so we're just going to get rid of most of the old paint and grime and give it a coat of plastic adhesion promoter, and then spray that silver. And in the back of it we'll just get rid of all of the old glue, just using one of these not too abrasive discs, and glue that back onto the car using Trim Fix. Now for the tricky part, because this is effectively a contact adhesive, you want to make sure that this goes in the right place first time, really. I'm going to use these neodymium magnets all the way around here to hold this tight. A couple of little grommets that go in these holes here. It's much easier to get those grommets in if you put a little bit of oil or silicone lube or something. Otherwise it's really difficult to get those in. Finally, in these holes here, you get a couple of cable ties that clip in like so. I must confess, I've never seen such a highly engineered cable tie. This little piece sticking up here, once you've clicked this in place, if you push that in like so, what it does is it spreads the teeth of this clip to stop it coming out. So if you ever have to get these cable ties off your car, what you need to do is go around to the other side and to, I don't know if you can see that, to push that in so that rod comes out, and then you should just be able to pull this off. If you just try and pull this off without doing that, you will just end up breaking the cable tie. We bought this pack of 3 cable ties for £2.15 plus VAT. As is often the case, once you have got the piece in your hand and you know what you're looking for, you can usually find it cheaper somewhere else. So these guys in Latvia sell these cable ties in packs of 10 for £4.55. We bought 20 of them for about £8 from these guys off eBay. So these little things here need to be pushed in like so, and that locks these cable ties in. We need one more there, we only got 3 of them, and then this can, for the first time in many months, go back in there to hopefully create a super duper watertight seal. Okay, just before we can put the battery tray in, we've got to drill a hole in here. This is obviously all new metal in here, but this heat shield here actually screws down onto there, so we're going to drill a hole. Now, these brackets obviously are brand new and painted, and you could, before you put the battery tray in, put some tape or some rubber washers underneath the battery tray to stop the paint getting scratched. Okay, it's time to put in the battery tray, which we refurbished some 5 months ago. Seems like a long time ago now. You can actually still get these battery trays. They're not that expensive, and if I'd known that, I don't think I'd have gone to the bother of refurbing. They're about £50, I think, from the SL shop. We'll be using new nuts and washers. Last thing to put on is the hinge and spring, which we've refurbished. The top here attaches to a stud on the bonnet. You're going to need one wavy spring washer, which you can get from Mercedes, and a special clip, which unfortunately this one is broken. They don't make this clip anymore, but we're getting one off our parts car. These wavy washers, you're going to need one at the top and one at the bottom. The part number there, 000 004802. So you're going to need 4 of them in total for the bonnet. We're just doing one side. And the order of events here is you have the nut, sorry, the bolt, wavy washer goes on the top, then it goes through here. On the other side is a standard washer, and then it screws in. The easiest way to get this on is to hook the spring in first, then attach that 20mm bolt to the fitting down there, and then to hook this over there, and then finally to clip it on with this. It can be quite tricky getting that spring clip in, so I've just got a set of mole grips pushing the two things together. This is the old heater blower cover. You can see it's all cracked, it's got a big bit missing. For some reason these always are cracked, but we're going to be replacing it with a brand new one. This is the old heater blower seal. You can do yourself a big favour by replacing this seal, because once again this seal is not doing anything anymore. It's just brittle, it'll break, it's got no elasticity left, so we'll be putting a new seal. Seal number is R107 835002364. They're not particularly expensive, definitely worth replacing. When you come to fit the seal, make sure you fit it the right way up and the right way round. There are 3 little nodules here, 1, 2 and 3, and these correspond to 3 little holes at the front of the car. I'll just show you. So those 3 little holes are at the front here. Okay, so the screw hole is here. There are 3 little protruding holes here, here and here. Make sure you get the seal the right way round when you put it in. That seal, if it's in right, should be nice and snug. Should be no movement, because it's seated properly in those 3 holes. We've got that cover on nice and square. You do not need to over tighten these screws. If you've got a new seal in there, you should let the seal do the work. One of the reasons these often get cracked is because people tighten them right down. You don't need to do that. Well, we've finally finished that section of the repair. We've put on a new blower motor cover, we made up a new strut, we made up a new panel, fabricated a new panel, welded everything in, sealed everything, epoxy primered everything, restored the springs, replaced all the screws, made it all new, put a new wheel arch support section on. It only remains to be seen whether after 5 months this car actually starts. As I mentioned, this is my first ever car, and I have to say it has never ever failed to start. So let's just see. Look at that. I'm going to finish this video here. I'm very pleased with how this has all turned out. I don't think that will ever leak into the front footwell again in my lifetime. We've still got quite a lot of work to do on this car, but for the time being I'm going to leave the silver car and we're going to jump onto our new project sitting in the corner over there, because we need to drive to London, pick up the parts car and start putting that car back together. So I may put the wing back on as is, because I need to get this car off the ramp. I'm just going to finish the video by giving a rundown of what it cost to repair all of this. Just to Give you an idea of what this job cost. The panels in a support arch, in a wing, and the sheet metal from your car parts about £230. Consumables including things like seam sealer, primers, paints, cut-off discs, etc. about £230. Parts, things like grommets, seals, etc. Most of them from Mercedes, £66. Now the tools, obviously, you know, these tools you'll be able to use for another job, but just to let you know, some of these are absolutely essential. I haven't included in here an angle grinder, which would also be essential. Main part of that was the welder, which came from Machine Mart, 350 quid, but the tools actually cost 650 quid. So the grand total, starting from scratch, if you had no tools and you set about doing that job, you wouldn't get much change from about £1,000 to £1,500. And we've looked for the cheapest source for all of these parts. So that doesn't include the cost of things like the floor pans and lower kick and the sills, etc. But it just gives you an indication, if somebody quotes you £1,000 to do that job, it's not actually unreasonable, because obviously in this is none of the many hours associated with doing that repair and the refurbishment of the various parts.